Nintendo Superstars. It's funny how it says Nintendo Superstars that you have like Ryu from Street Fighter in here and Sonic, which is Sega, and obviously if you know anything about video game history, Sega was like a completely different console manufacturer for the longest time during the 90s. And now they go through and break down each of the individual characters and their histories. Mario's history here, how he started out as Jumpman, but then, you know, Mario is just, I have so much love for Mario, right? Like, not only is Mario an amazing series of platformer games, whether you're looking at the 2D platformers like Super Mario Wonder or the new Super Mario Bros. Games, or with the 3D platformers like Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, Galaxy 1 and 2, but then also all the spin-offs that he's been involved in with like Mario Party, Mario Tennis, Mario Golf, Mario Strikers, but like the list goes on, and then Super Smash Bros., which obviously isn't necessarily a Mario thing, but like, you know, obviously Mario's like a main part of that. He's one of the main faces of it, and it's just, I don't know, man. I love Mario. Seeing this Italian plumber with his mustache and his big blue eyes and his overalls just always makes me happy, man. Next up, we got Luigi with his first appearance being in Mario Bros. Not Super Mario Bros. On the NES, but rather Mario Bros. The arcade game where, you know, him and Mario, you'd be like jumping, trying to jump on top of the enemies coming down of the tube so you can get the highest score or whatever. Donkey Kong, obviously his first appearance was Donkey Kong. Princess Peach, first appearance was Super Mario Bros. In 1985, and you know, you have to free her from the castle or save her from Bowser. And then Toad, same thing, Super Mario Bros. The princess is in another castle. Yoshi, his first appearance was in Super Mario World, where, you know, you can jump on his back and make him eat apples and stuff. Wario, his first appearance was in Super Mario Land 2 Golden Coins, one of my favorite 2D Mario games. That, and you know, a lot of people talk about Mario Land 2, but not enough people talk about Mario Land 1. I love Mario Land 1 so much. You know, it's one of those games where you turn it on, beat it within an hour, and it's not too difficult, but it's so fun and it's so innovative. You had like those shooter sections in it, as well as the traditional 2D platforming. Definitely give it a shot, man. The Super Mario Land 1 is one of the most innovative 2D Mario games, hands down, even to this day. Waluigi introduced in Mario Tennis in 2000. Bowser, obviously 1985. Rosalina introduced in Super Mario Galaxy. I've always loved Rosalina, an absolute princess. Got the Goomba, obviously Super Mario Bros. Koopa Troopa, same thing. Piranha Plant, same thing. Princess Daisy introduced in Super Mario Land, which is what I'm saying. A shout out to this guy for showing some appreciation and love for Princess Daisy. Birdo, first appearance was Doki Doki Panic. If you don't know the history there, basically Super Mario Bros. 2 in the US, I mean, it's technically Super Mario Bros. 2 here, right? But it's actually a reskin of a game called Doki Doki Panic. If you're confused, just do your research on it. It's actually pretty fascinating, but yeah, Super Mario Bros. 2 isn't actually Super Mario Bros. 2. I mean, it is, but you know what I mean. Again, just do your research there, and then that'll kind of tie into like why the Lost Levels is what it is, and why it's called the Lost Levels here, but it's called Mario Bros. 2 over in Japan. So yeah, it's actually a really fun learning piece. So just read some articles, watch some videos. I guarantee you it's one of those things that'll both blow your mind, but also just be an interesting read slash watch slash, you know, a cool bit of nugget to add to your video game knowledge. Cappy from Mario Odyssey, Bowser Jr. from Super Mario Sunshine, who then went on to also be like basically the main villain of sorts in New Super Mario Bros. On the DS and all that. Boom Boom from Super Mario Bros. 3, the Blooper in Super Mario Bros. Hammer Bro, Bullet Bill, another character introduced technically in Doki Doki Panic with Shy Guy. Then you got the Boo. Diddy Kong, I have always absolutely loved Diddy Kong. Again, just harkening back to that nostalgia of the first vivid memory from my life. Literally, you know, just Donkey Kong and Diddy Kong hanging out together. These two are like my heroes. Love interest. Diddy Kong's girlfriend is Dixie Kong. She debuted in Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest. I always hate how people sometimes mispronounce his name and say Diddy Kong's Quest. Like, sure, it makes sense. It's Diddy Kong's Quest, but no, it's Diddy's Kong Quest. Do people not understand the play on words? Got the Bob-omb. I don't want to have to go through and name off every single character because there's a lot in here, obviously, but we'll at least flip through and admire some of the art. I love how they have, like, a mix of 2D art, obviously, in here, because this is, like, the original render from Pokemon Red of Charizard, but then they also have some of the 3D renders of, like, Pikachu right here and Jigglypuff, and then, again, some of the 2D art here with Mewtwo. I love how they don't discriminate either. Like, they aren't just going in order of the game's release. Like, they're just kind of throwing characters everywhere. Like, here's some characters from Red and Blue, but then, hey, here you go. Here's a Pokemon from Sword and Shield. We got Link with his first appearance being in 1986 and The Legend of Zelda. Nowadays, it's one of those games where, like, you can go into it blind, but honestly, I would probably recommend going in with, like, maybe a map or a guide pulled up on the side just in case you get lost. Like, I would say go through it as blind as you can for as long as you can, but if you absolutely hit a brick wall and you're getting frustrated, then look to the guide or the walkthrough or whatever, just because it is one of those games where it literally does not hold your hand. It barely gives you any hints. It does kind of give you some hints, but I mean, it's still, it's just, Nowadays, might not be a bad idea to have one of those things on the side, but still, go through it as blind as you can for as long as you can, because there's a lot of charm there. It really harkens back to those days of just like, you're plopped in the middle of nowhere, and that's it. Just go. That's one of the things that I've always loved about the original Metroid on NES. Like, as much as I love Metroid Zero Mission, playing the original Metroid on NES, like, there's no story, there's no build-up, there's no cutscenes, there's nothing like that. You're just, like, dumped into the game, and it's just like, hey, that's it. You make your own adventure. You figure out what's going on. Like, the game developers, they're just gonna sit back and watch and laugh at you. It really just comes down to how much time you're willing to dedicate to the game, you know? Are you willing to dedicate the next, like, couple dozen hours to beating the game, or do you just want to pull up a guide and finish it in, like, I don't know, a couple of hours? You know what I mean? At this point, I've always been the guy where I'm like, hey, I don't care how you play a game. There's no wrong way to play a video game. I don't care if you use a guide, if you use a walkthrough, if you I don't care what you do while you're playing a video game. If you just listen to a podcast while you're playing it, if you just play for a half hour here and there, or if you decide to binge it for 12 hours straight, whatever you want to do, there is no way, like, there is no wrong way to play a video game, wrong way to approach a video game. The only wrong way to play a video game is to not play it at all. Princess Zelda introduced in The Legend of Zelda, you would hope. Ganon, same thing. Impa, same thing. Got Kirby, who was introduced not on a Nintendo home console, which is interesting considering most of Kirby's games nowadays, well, literally all of them, since Nintendo doesn't really have a dedicated handheld or console anymore. It's just a, you know, a mix of the two, both handheld and console. But yeah, Kirby was introduced on the Game Boy with Kirby's Dream Land, which very similar to Super Mario Land. Kirby's Dream Land has always been one of my favorite 2D platformers. It's a very innovative game. It's very cutesy. It is rather short. You could definitely beat it in under an hour, but still, it's really cute. It's a lot of fun. It has so much charm, and it's one of those games that I go back to constantly. You know, if I have like an hour to kill, not even an hour, you can easily beat the game in like 30, 45 minutes tops. If I just have a bit of time to kill, I will whip out the Game Boy, I will pop in Kirby's Dream Land, and I will just go for a playthrough of it just because I love the game that much. Absolutely timeless, endlessly replayable. Love that game to death. Next up, we have King Dedede, which, again, same thing, obviously introduced in the same game there. Next, we got Samus introduced in Metroid, as we had talked about before, 1986, the game where it just plops you in and says, go. Next up, we got Sonic, which is introducing, interesting, because it says it's introduced in Sonic Adventure 2, but obviously Sonic has been there since, you know, like the first Sonic on Sega Genesis. Okay, so they say debut year 2001. That's obviously incorrect. I'm not exactly. Maybe they're saying that this was the first time they were technically in the Nintendo universe, or the first time they appeared on a Nintendo device. Oh, okay, yeah, I see it right here. The Speedy Sonic arrived on Nintendo devices and made his debut in Sonic Adventure 2 Battle. Okay, at first I was confused. I was like, Sonic is much older than that, but okay, never mind. And then, yeah, it goes on to show, like, Ryu and Ken and stuff like that, and obviously they're not Nintendo characters. This is just kind of relaying when they appeared on Nintendo consoles for the first time. Okay, so Isabelle showed up in New Leaf, Rabbids with, in 2006 with Rayman, Raving Rabbids, which was, you know, it's funny because when you look at the Rabbids, you think of them as being their own thing with their own TV show and video games and crossovers with Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle and Sparks of Hope, but no, Rabbids was actually a spin-off of the Rayman series and then basically killed Rayman to go off and do their own thing, but I mean, can we get another Rayman game, please? I don't care if it's a 3D platformer like Rayman 2 or a 2D one like Rayman 1 or the Origins and, you know, like Legends, I guess like reboots if you want to call them that. You know, I don't care what style it is. I just want more Rayman. Then we got Fox from Star Fox, which I had mentioned before during the SNES section. One of the most just revolutionary, innovative, mind-blowing games ever released. Like, seeing that game run on a Super Nintendo is still impressive to this day. Pac-Man, Inkling, man, I love Splatoon to death. I've been in love with that game ever since I played it on the Wii U for the first time. That is still, when I think Splatoon, I still think of the first game on the Wii U. Don't get me wrong, 2 and 3 are fantastic. It's just, when I think of my first experiences with the game, it was with the first one on Wii U. So much nostalgia and love for it. Still have my physical copy, of course.